2022, I think it's fair to say, wasn't exactly a vintage year for cinema. Off the back of COVID, we saw the release of delayed projects varying in significant quality and the impact they had on audiences globally. The bog standard release of even more Disney Marvel properties that by now seem to have the momentum of old Joe Biden climbing up the stairs to Air Force One. Don't worry, old timer, you'll get there someday. The main thing is, though, the quality continues to experience what can often be described, I would say, as a drop off for the ages. But what did seem to stand above the rest was something that seemed to follow a more familiar narrative: sequels to blockbuster favourites. What of the Marvel sequels, I hear you ask? Well, the issue Marvel faces, and boy does it have several, is that it can't sustain itself anymore on that sweet, sweet nectar it once did. That sweet nectar of getting people to come purely because it's part of a cinematic universe. But anyway, that's a tale for another time. Instead, one sequel stood out above the rest. The sequel to the 1986 cult classic amassed an incredible $718 million at the domestic box office and 1.5 billion globally. Maverick became the biggest film worldwide in 2022. Well, the biggest film that wasn't filmed in James Cameron's personal aquarium. Who'd have thought it? Audiences in China wouldn't warm quite so much to pure, unadulterated US military chest bumps. So, a drop off in the biggest foreign box office market compared to Avatar 2 was to be expected. Top Gun succeeds to such a degree that so few films can anymore. It succeeds off incredible fan-led, word-of-mouth reviews, and importantly, some of the best filmmaking and cinema-focused experience seen in years. It demands to be seen on the big screen, a rare trait in today's streaming world. While Marvel relies on its legacy to put bums on seats, Maverick was forced to rely on the old-fashioned concept of, well, being a bloody good movie. Otherwise, it would have sunk without a trace when the audience of dads trying to rediscover their 80s youth, maybe grow back their mullets, finally dried out. So, what brought about this incredible success? Why was Maverick different to so many other films from 2022, the last few years in this post Endgame world? And most importantly, has Hollywood learned from Maverick, or is it too far gone? The original Top Gun, released way back in the tranquil times of 1986, directed by the late Tony Scott, it would become an absolute behemoth of a cult classic, from its incredible action set pieces, an immensely cool soundtrack headed up by Kenny Loggins, and leading charisma from its leads. Top Gun fever swept 80s America and the West. Alpha males, fighter jets, enough testosterone to make the 1996 Chicago Bulls look like Girl Scouts. Top Gun, it had it all. So much so, recruiting stations for the US Navy were stationed at cinemas around the country to sign up young men desperate to emulate just a fraction of the coolest of Iceman. But there was one big question. Could this be replicated in today's world? If you've spent enough time on Twitter these days, it's easy to think the answer would be no. Heck, just turn on the news and you'll see how striving for any element of prime masculine energy is shut down. Why would a studio want to highlight men operating at their absolute peaks? Show the US to be the dominating military force in the world, and create set pieces that would require cameras to venture outside the dizzy heights of green screens in Atlanta. Well, in 2010, development on Top Gun Maverick was given the green light, and audiences around the world would get the first hints of a return to some ass-kicking American Air Force porn. Following the tragic suicide of director Tony Scott in 2012, the project cooled, but producer Jerry Bruckheimer remained committed to the project, especially given the interest expressed by leading men Cruise and Kilmer. Joseph Krasinski was brought on board to direct, and with the first teaser trailer being released in 2019, Cruise, true to his belief in the power of cinema, ensured the film would release as intended in the best way, for the audience to enjoy it on the big screen. So in May 2022, once the pandemic started to truly fade, Top Gun Maverick was released. And boy, was this justified. Maverick crushed it at the box office, but more so, brought back the thrill of the movies. As a leading man, Tom Cruise, with the continued success of his Mission Impossible franchise, had been securing himself as the last action hero, as the old favourites Arnold and Sly started to age out. But the release of Maverick cemented this role for him in the Hollywood setup, and it's set up his latest installment in the Mission Impossible franchise to be the biggest yet when it releases this year. Cruise has been able to create something Hollywood stardom has struggled with. Well, struggled to do for years. Outside really of an RDJ Iron Man, he's managed to create a sure thing for the audience, a guarantee of a leading man. Guarantee of a leading man who'll kick ass and deliver cinema-worthy quality. Cinemas are expensive these days. Ain't nobody risking a trip to the cinema anymore for the off chance maybe Shuri will be a brilliant Black Panther after all. Right. Cruise revealed that the sequel would be titled Top Gun Maverick, noting that he didn't want a number in the title. This wasn't a sequel to the character that had set him up to be the superstar he is today. This film was, in his words, to be a progression for Maverick. Cruise as a leading man, he understands the importance of what he represents in his characters. Maverick as a lead isn't there as a passenger in his own movie. Something that went on the scale and dynamic of the set pieces Maverick has, it would be easy to do so. Instead, Cruise embodies Maverick, his past, his pain, and his regrets, his charisma, and most importantly, his vulnerability to his own purpose. Cruise journeys with us through Maverick to find his place in the world. And it's a place, well, he can still lead from the front, both on and off screen. The films these days, they require ensembles. Maverick delivers on that perfectly. Iceman, the coolest of the cool from 1986, returns with Val Kilmer, and we share the real vulnerability and struggles of the character, and Kilmer himself in a very tactful way. But what stands out above is the belief Iceman has in Maverick. It's real, and Kilmer and Cruise welcome us into this bond, and the film is all the richer for it. Jennifer Connelly, well, to put it frankly, is an absolute babe. And the film doesn't shy away from the fact she's a love interest. She doesn't need to have the secret ability to hack into the enemy's radar system. She's just a fleshed out love interest who we root for, and who complements the growth of the lead. The young guns excel perfectly for the film also. A wide range of personalities, but all who serve for the purpose of making us believe they are the best of the best. Credit to the filming techniques used and for the actors going up in the F-18s and being responsible for all their own filming. Without such skill from the cast and crew, the film just would never have hit the heights and legacy it's created. Audiences these days feel so deprived of live action set pieces. The real live action enhances the tension the audience feel as they watch these super machines dart around mountainsides. The G-force is real, and boy does it bring out the best performances from the leads. With Miles Teller, the son of Maverick's old wingman Goose, he brings maturity to his performance, where he doesn't fall into an all too predictable trope of overplaying his resentments, and his development of his relationship with Cruise works so well that by the climax, you really feel the self-sacrificing levels of their relationship is natural, and not some BS Hollywood ploy to get a tear from the audience. And how refreshing it was to see Monica Barbara's portrayal as Phoenix, an absolute perfect portrayal of how leading women should be in today's action films. She's smart, competent, but never at the expense of her male counterparts. When you see her fly with skill, you know it's because she's bloody good at her job, not that it's a forced narrative for us to swallow. She's not the best, because she doesn't need to be. The film is comfortable with having the near 60-year-old white male lead be the best. Well, because it's what benefits the story, not the social media loving, the hashtags the studio probably wanted, but quite frankly, what audiences couldn't give a rat's ass about. And then finally, you have Hangman. He is what he's meant to be. He's Iceman 2.0, and it just works. He's cocky, but you like him. Deep down, every bloke watching it wants to be him. Hell, Glenn Powell, if I had that body, I'd be a cocky twat also, my good man. Maverick uses this superb cast and characters in a way that allows them to thrive the best way possible, through a story that just works. Yeah, it's not some epic from Nolan that will have you questioning your place in the universe. It's the good guys fighting the bad guys. The very unspecified bad guys. And all of it is done by looking really freaking cool. After lockdowns, perhaps that's what we needed. And it's certainly what cinema needs after the deluge of Disney vomit-inducing, message-baiting boredom we've been getting. Maverick is exciting, it's tense, genuine edge-of-your-seat action, and above all, it's an easy watch that doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. It knows it's cheesy and predictable in parts, but it plays it off to the max. It's why people leave and recommend it to their friends and family, because it plays as sheer entertainment. And well, maybe if more films focused on that side, some of the movies may reach some of Maverick's cheddar cheese it's made along the way. So will Hollywood learn its lessons from Maverick? I think we all know the answer to that, depressingly. I suppose Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny later this year will be the barometer. You literally have the same setup as Maverick had. Well, if we forget about that weird one with the aliens.
And it's a little surprising, and it's bold.
Yeah, it's gonna suck so much ass, isn't it? So while our future at the movies may look bleak, rest assured, there will always be a few directors and a certain leading man by the name of Tom Cruise who will continue to put his life on the line for our own entertainment, who will always ensure we take the highway to the danger zone.
Damn.